Welcome back tonight as we savor the flavor of candy, created here in Colorado and now known the world over. Next up, we travel to the Western Slope, just as Chet Enstrom did some 88 years ago. That's where he created a toffee he thought would just be a gift for friends. Little did he know how big it would get. A river of buttery caramelized sugar, coated in crushed nuts, covered in chocolate that literally flies through the air. What's not to love about toffee? Well, hard to believe not everyone is a fan.
A lot of times people say they don't like toffee, and that's because they've had the kind that sticks to their teeth. And when they have our toffee, they love it. So that's kind of our challenge, is to get people to try our toffee.
Converting toffee fans has been a tradition for the Enstrom family of Grand Junction for 4 generations.
There's Grandpa and Grandma Enstrom, Chet and Bernie.
I am an Enstrom. Chet Enstrom, the founder, was my grandfather.
He actually came to Grand Junction to start an ice cream company. On the side, he was making some candy because ice cream doesn't really sell very well in the winter, so they would have some confections that they would sell in the winter. The toffee was actually an ingredient for one of the ice creams. Started making the toffee, and soon people started falling in love with the toffee more than they liked the ice cream. In 1960, he opened Enstrom Candies.
It is clear toffee making has changed over those 6 decades. They now have a high-tech automated candy line that helps them churn out up to 3 million pounds of toffee every year.
It's the only continuous flow, all-natural butter toffee cooker in the world.
It goes to the slitter, and then it goes through the cutter, and then that's where you get your little squares in around through the cooling tunnel.
It creates about 1,000 pounds per hour. It's all individual pieces that are fully enrobed in chocolate.
Down through the cooling tunnel, down to where they pack it.
But they still also make it the old-fashioned way, producing homemade traditional slab toffee just the way Chet Enstrom and his family have done for decades. They still use his old recipe. First, they caramelize sugar in huge copper pots. Then they add some butter, and more butter, and then a bunch more butter. Next step, sprinkling in some raw almonds and letting the concoction get hot. And when it's just right, they unleash that stream of bubbling toffee on top of this cooling table. It's then spread out and rolled out. Then they coat it in a blanket of milk chocolate. And finally, it gets a thick dusting of ground nuts. And just when you think it can't possibly get any better, they flip it over and do it all again.
Our toffee is tender to the mouth, so when you bite into our toffee, you don't break a tooth. It doesn't stick to your teeth.
It may not stick to your teeth, but it sure does stick with you. Customers line up at their retail stores on the Western Slope and here in the Denver area for a taste of their childhood.
And we have a lot of people that come in and feel a little nostalgic because their parents gave it to them when they were growing up, and maybe they're no longer here. So now they're coming in and sending it to their family.
That family connection is something Karen Thompson understands. She started working here 42 years ago. She watched Jim and Doug Jr., the 4th generation of Enstroms to run the business, grow up right in front of her eyes. This family has always felt like her family. But there's actually one other reason she stayed.
My dad was a dentist and wouldn't let me eat any candy, so this is what I love, being around this.
But Enstrom's master candy maker Clint Miller, who's worked here more than 30 years, says this career does bring with it some professional hazards.
Well, when I first started, I weighed 145 pounds. Now I weigh 230. You know, you got to do quality control.
And after all, what's a few extra pounds when you love what you do and who you do it with? A great family making great candy, just the way Chet Enstrom did all those decades ago.
It just makes you proud to think what my grandfather started and how we've been able to carry on the tradition.